Hi guys, Alice Taylor down here at Living Golf Academy. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new Ben Hogan Fort Worth white irons. Right guys, so the Ben Hogan Fort Worth irons, they come in two finishes, black, which is clearly black, and white, which is actually just chrome rather than white, but two very, very distinctive looking different irons. I'm going to hit the 4-iron, the 7-iron and the pitching wedge. Very kind of been lent these by Michael Newton, who has also done a review, so if you haven't checked his review out, check that out, see what he thinks. Come back and watch mine, see what I think. But we're looking at a forged head, depression cavity in the back, so very much looking, I think, aimed at those guys who slightly better player, maybe a decent ball striker, but not someone who flushes it all the time. But I'm going to hit Titleist Pro V's, like I said, 5 shots with 4-iron, 7-iron pitching wedge. Give you guys some feedback, what I think of the Ben Hogan Fort Worth irons. Right then guys, so as I said at the start of the video, I've got the Fort Worth white. Now obviously they do the black version as well, and it's just chrome, it's not white, but gorgeous looking golf club. I'm going to hit 5 balls with 7-iron, 4-iron and pitching wedge. Titleist Pro V1X on TrackMan, normalised mode down here at Living Golf Academy. I'm going to talk through kind of the benefits of these irons, kind of the kind of players that might be interested in this kind of iron, and just see how well they perform. Ben Hogan, you know, a name absolutely intertwined with golf. Don't see enough of their equipment around nowadays for me personally, but first impressions looking at these, absolutely gorgeous. So certainly when you look at the back, you can see the depression cavity in the back. So even though it looks like a blade, it's kind of got a little bit of a cavity in there. And the cavity is actually designed to kind of slightly different as you run through the irons to aid with launch angle. So the idea is kind of long irons, it's going to launch the ball a bit higher. Short irons, it's going to kind of keep the ball down a little bit more. It's a nice small head, but not the thinnest of top line. So I think it looks very like a blade, obviously to look down on, but just that slightly thicker top line might not appeal to everybody, but I actually quite like the look of that. So off we go with 7-iron. So at 34 degrees loft, not expecting this by any means to be a 7-iron that absolutely bombs it out there. And I think what we should be seeing with this loft of 7-iron is lots and lots of backspin, lots and lots of control on the shots. So just under 160 carry. Which came about probably what I would expect. Might expect a couple of yards more, but decent number for there. Definitely launches the ball high for me. So a little bit weaker loft than what I'm currently playing, but I do love the feel. And as with everything, you know, there's no better feeling than a forged iron. I think hopefully, you know, for that better player who wants that forged feeling, but maybe wants that little bit more forgiveness, the kind of little depression cavity in here should give us that little bit more on that slight mishit. That felt absolutely perfect. So really, really good. And like everything, you know, I'm expecting 7-iron to be fairly easy to strike. Nice high ball flight, which would generally be what I would get. But yeah, I mean, that ticks all the boxes for me in looks and feel. Right then, so let's have a little look kind of just quickly how 7-iron performed. Right then guys, so we can see there that my average for the 5 shots, optimal carry was 161, I got it at 160. My ball speed was good, maybe just bottom end of where ideal is, but that's more because I'm launching it a little bit higher. Spinning at just under 7,000, so absolutely on the money for what I'd be looking for from a 7-iron with that loft. So that moves us into the pitching wedge, and again, we could definitely see the depression cavity in the back, much, much smaller though. So again, the idea with this is it's going to kind of keep that flight down. Again, when you look at it, slightly thicker top line, but still a nice compact head, which I really, really like. I don't like seeing my short irons really, really big. So let's see how this stacks up. Now what I would say, just before I hit shots, Hogan kind of, interesting what they're doing with their lofts. Well, a lot of manufacturers are kind of cranking lofts and things like that. Ben Hogan, particularly with this set, are talking about they want to see a 4-degree gap from 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, all the way down. So the pitching wedge is 46 degrees. Certainly they're talking about that 4-degree gap should give that kind of 10 yard, maybe 10 to 12 yard gap, where certain manufacturers, they feel in the longer irons is only 2.5 degrees, which is nothing. But then when they get into those shorter irons, they're having to make 5. So that actually creates a bit of an issue on gapping, potentially for most golfers. But let's see how the pitching wedge performs. Oh, could definitely put a set of these in the bag. I mean, looks wise, yeah. Feel wise, absolutely lovely, so soft. And I think that nice compact head for me, not just on the full shots, but when you're playing some of those little shots around the green, I think the club sits lovely and tight behind the golf ball. Just screams that you can get really good strike on the golf ball. And again, love that. And certainly I would say the flight looks only about the same peak height as 7N, which should be with all your irons, that peak height should be the same. But you generally see with a lot of golfers, maybe the short irons do go higher, and then as they get into the mid and the long irons, that trajectory drops off. That in itself creates a huge issue with gapping. Yeah, just everything I'd be looking for. But one final one with the wedge. Pretty good. And again, that just feels absolutely what I'd be after. So again, looks and feel really good with the wedge. Again, let's look at numbers and see if we kind of do get that correct gapping down from 7-9. Right then guys, so it said optimal carry 131, which is great. Pretty much where I'd be looking for with that club. See, everything's lining up apart from, interestingly, apart from the spin rate, which was just phenomenally high. Now actually my ball flight peak height was a little bit lower than it was with 7-9, so that's interesting. So definitely generating lots and lots of spin from that, lots and lots of control. And we can see even there, you know, carrying 128, so finishing behind where it pitches. And what's particularly interesting, if you look up the left-hand side, just how consistent those yardages are. And again, as spin rate, launch angle, ball speed are more consistent, you will see a more consistent distance. But very, very impressed with how the wedge performs. Right then, so that moves us into 4-iron, and certainly not expecting everyone to have 4-iron in the bag. But when you look at the back of the club, certainly the depression cavity looks a bit bigger, looks a bit lower in the head. So certainly for me, the idea with this is that this is going to launch the ball a little bit higher and hopefully get that peak height about the same. Because we're at 22 degrees, should still get some decent spin on this. And again, we should be, I think, looking probably maybe 195 carry with this, maybe up to 200. But again, let's see how the 4-iron performs. I definitely didn't get that one. Got that a little bit out the toe. Accuracy wise, not too bad. But that, definitely didn't get that. Okay, so after not the finest one to begin with, impressed how far that went. So, oh. I mean, I know it's not the be all and end all that 4-iron feels nice and soft. But that, a little bit drawy, but super, super soft. 205, so long. I mean, bearing in mind that's not by any means kind of really cranked on 4-iron. ball flight is fantastic. Could definitely see that kind of high enough to be landing on the green and stopping. It'd be interesting to see when we look at the numbers, kind of what the backspin's like. Okay, last couple with 4-iron. Again, pretty solid. And definitely for me, like I said, you know, that first one wasn't great, but you haven't really seen much of a drop off with the first one compared to the rest, which have been more solid. Okay, so cutty one, wins off the left. Won't look quite as bad when it gets into normalized mode, but certainly shape wise, that one not great. But again, carry wise, very impressive. So again, let's look at the averages for 4-iron and kind of look how that launched, how it spun, and overall performance of the Fort Worth 4-iron. Right then guys, so we look at the numbers for 4-iron there. So certainly, ball speed was down a little bit, which I'm not massively surprised because I didn't absolutely flush all of those, but bearing in mind there was a couple that weren't perfect strikes. That's still very, very good ball speed for me. Launching a little bit high. I would probably argue, particularly the last one where the club face was a bit open, that would cause that to launch a little bit higher. Backspin a little lower than kind of TrackMan would say. For me personally, I wouldn't want to be spinning my 4-iron at 5,000. I think around 4,000 would be good for me. So at just under 3,600, that's great numbers. And again, that peak height, really, really good at 88 feet. Right then guys, so I mean, my views on those irons, you know, fantastic looking, feel great, perform exactly how I would need them to perform. They're not going to be the longest irons on the market, and they don't need to be. You know, I don't think for the guy who's looking to really maximize his distance, he's going to be looking at a set of irons where the 7-iron's at 34 degrees. There's lots of irons out there at kind of 28, 29 that will do that. That might give you a very different flight, different shot. But that's why you need to get down, get fitted for irons, and make sure that your clubs are bang on for you or as close as possible. So guys, hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, like and share it, comment below, and I'll get back to as many of you as I can. If you've enjoyed the video and you don't currently subscribe, please click the button and ring the bell. Make sure you get my stuff as soon as it lands. Follow me on all my other social media platforms. I've got some great giveaways coming up over this summer, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here in the future. Stay in contact.